Hello and welcome to episode 29. I'm Gabe, and today we will be challenging the Ghost type Elite Four member. But let's do a speedy recap. In the last episode, you managed to stop Tim and his Galvion, acquiring yet another access code. You leave Tim behind and run into another nearby lab. This lab is quite eerie, and a form lurches out of the dark at you. This is Kyler, the Ghost-type head researcher.
So you're the one trying to break into our labs. Aren't you the professor's assistant? What, you think you understand my Ghost-type Pokémon? Let's see.
Kyler leads with his Nihilocene. You've learned how to deal with its troublesome typing and knock it out. Next, he sends out the evolution to a ghost type we met early in the Palean region. The previous stage, Listric, is based on those adorably ugly little Dicynodonts. But when it evolves, we'll be pivoting to the Circusaurus. It has a similar little beak and kind of pointy face, so that's enough of a similarity for me. I just really wanted to use this dino. It is one of the few dinosaurs we have a pretty accurate view of what it looked like. Not only do we have fossil evidence of the quills on its rump, but there was subtle pigmentation fossilized as well. So we actually know that it had counter shading for camouflage. That's when an animal has a lighter underbelly. And along with a speckled or dappled pattern moving upward. I just can't get enough of how accurate our reconstructions likely are. So what we are bringing in for this design is the counter shading on the belly, gotta have that. Some speckly spot markings on the legs, cool. And of course, all of the quills, which will be represented by grass. In fact, this will evolve by using a miracle seed. I always forget to say the evolution methods. Anyway, we're also keeping the skull motif and the subtle shamanistic inspiration, primarily with the pose. And the shiny gets to be dried grass colors, which would be particularly fun in the overworld. Alright, this is Situft, the hidden Pokemon. This frightening Pokemon hides in tall grass, using the long blades of grass growing from its back. Though it uses fear as a deterrent, it will stand its ground if an opponent does not flee immediately. Situft have sharp beaks, horns, and bladed grass that make even the largest predators think twice. And its ability is Infiltrator, so that's staying the same as it was before. Basically, it's able to sneak around and ignore the effects of Reflect, Light Screen, and Safeguard. It's shimmying and shaking all that bladed grass at you, but you are able to knock it out. Next up, Kyler sends out another evolution, this time to that chunky little nano boa. I knew early on that I wanted to do a design that referenced shed snakeskin. I eventually realized that this would make for a great ghost type. Our design will wear its own dead skin both as a form of camouflage and to serve as a ghoulish mask. It'll be so spooky that it'll cause others to freeze in fear, allowing me to treat it a bit like a basilisk. It'll be slow since it's just using its ghastly appearance to stop its prey in its tracks. The colors came really easily here, and similar to Situft's shiny looking like dried grass, this shiny will have the shed skin looking like fallen leaves, for camouflage reasons. Also, since it is still based on the Gargantuan Titanoboa, this thing finally gets to be big, like really big. Like this Pokemon could probably legitimately eat you in one bite. But you can see that on the Dex entry. Alright, let's take a look at that now. Here is Huskilisk, the petrifying Pokemon. This massive serpent wears its discarded skin as a ghastly mask. Huskilisk are quite slow, but ambush their prey and freeze them in place with fear. Few can escape this titan. Huskilisks use their tongues to grab prey before constricting their bodies around them. And their ability is Arena Trap, and that prevents opponents from fleeing or switching out of battle. This thing is just a big meanie, not particularly speedy, but tanky and still able to hit with a decent special attack stat. You're losing some of your team members, but eventually you take this Titan down. Luckily, Kyler sends out an easier Pokemon next. Plazaro is also relatively big, but it's just not quite as strong comparatively. Unfortunately, when you do knock it out, Kyler follows up with its towering evolution. Plazaro already showed that we are dealing with sauropods, but now we're going to get truly gargantuan. This will end up being the largest Pokemon in the entire Paleon Dex. Now I know that the largest sauropods didn't have this more vertical body plan, with this, Brachiosaurus look being a bit of an outlier. But that verticality is important as we add a second typing. Even though it usually stays on the ground, it will be so tall that it's gaining the flying type. There's a weird new ability that will reflect this as well. It is, still going to have the little ectoplasmic blobs visible inside its body, though now they are much more defined as bones. And we're even maintaining the little bits of eggshell. Not only does this help add some weight, kind of solidness and more colors to the design, but it also gives it the recognizable Brachiosaurus head crest. And before anyone points out that the nostrils should be up there and not at the end of the nose, paleontologists have updated where the nostrils would have been. The head crest was likely a resonating chamber, but the nostrils would be still at the end of the snout. But enough of that. Let's learn about Titanost, the Cloud Spirit Pokemon. This colossal Pokemon is able to reach such a size due to its lightweight ectoplasma body. Titanost have mastered the manipulation of wind with their billowing clouds of ghostly energy. They feed on the tallest prehistoric trees and are able to float off the ground if anything is ever out of reach. And its ability is this new thing I'm calling Grounded. So it's no longer immune to ground type attacks, normally it would be as a flying type, but instead takes half damage from ground, electric, and rock attacks. Titanost is bulky as all get out, and still packs quite a punch. It's able to beat down most of your team before finally fainting. With no other options, Kyler sends out his final Pokemon. Yes, a ghost type Eevee. This is another design that I never got around to doing an early sketch for, so I was kind of going in blind. The only thing that I had was that it would be neat if it evolved holding a Reaper Cloth and it fainted. There is a lot of really amazing ghost-type Eevee designs out there, but I also wanted to avoid the all-too-common just slap some ghostly fire on it route. And also, while I like some of the more skeletal designs out there, I have to admit that a lot of the time they end up reading a little too dark and edgy, and they just kind of feel out of place with the other eeveelutions. So, we continued with the Reaper Cloth as our main inspiration. In order to keep from just looking like an eeveelution with a sheet tossed on it, I gave it these little detached feet. These give it a more ethereal, ghostly appearance, and also look like cute little spell bags. The tail was also a fun challenge, but I landed on this bit of Reaper Cloth that is dragged around like the blade of a scythe, completing that grim Reaper look. Also, let's talk about this adorable pose, shall we? It is cute as heck. Now, Eevee is definitely more fox-like, but the eeveelutions all sit somewhere between Canidae and Felidae. Like, Espeon is definitely more cat, and Flareon is definitely more canine. Spookyon is going to be more cat, and this pose, I think, shows it. Honestly, this is mainly because my best good buddy Kyler is the Ghost-type Elite Four member, and he has a little cat named Pamela. So, Pamela, if you're listening, this pose is for you. Okay, let's take a look at Spookyon, the Reaper Pokemon. This Ghost-type eeveelution enjoys creeping about in the shadows and scaring others. The draped cloth of Spookyon's body is incredibly resilient due to being filled with ghostly energy. It is able to wield the fabric trailing from its tail as an unexpected blade when provoked. Harnessing this spectral energy is quite demanding, and they spend most of the day napping. Its ability is Intimidate, and so that lowers the attack of opponents who enter battle. It's adorable and frightening at the same time, but you are able to pull through and emerge victorious.
You even took down my Spookyon! Impressive! Well, that shows me that you belong here. Give me that ID badge.
When you exit into the hallways, you see Grant being thrown from a nearby lab. It seems that he wasn't successful. You help your friend up from the ground, heal your Pokemon, and enter that lab. But we'll have to pick up from there in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching, and please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts on today's ghostly episode down in the comments below. A big thank you to Kyler for being our Ghost-type Elite Four member, and also a thank you to Pamela for essentially being Spookyon. I'll see you in episode 30, where we will be taking on the Rock-type Elite Four member. Bye!